and players smiling.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. Sherrod Blakely's here, Gary Washburn's here, I am Kwani Lunis. And before we get started, we just want to give you a quick reminder that this podcast is part of the CLNS Media Network family, which is something we wouldn't be able to do also without the great partners like the ones that we have. PrizePicks, you've heard of them, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Celtics. They get their first win of the season, 122-90 over New Orleans, understandably so, snapping a 3-game losing skid to start the season, which of course fans are highly concerned about, but kind of expected, unfortunately. But off the top, what do you make from this win against the Pelicans?
I know Gary was panicking, thought they would win a game all season. I remember he was talking about that. That's what I remember. I don't know about Gary. Yeah, Gary's a little stressed about that. Listen, they just need to get off the snide. I think the one thing that we've seen with this team is that they really have been getting a little bit better from one game to the next. They just couldn't get over the hump. Things seem to kind of come together. They did a much better job on the glass. They got contributions from guys that have not really contributed a ton in the first 3 games. And they played a team that was without their best player. Let's be honest. And which is not unusual for New Orleans because they're used to playing without Zion, put it that way. But the bottom line is they got the win. They got off the snide, so they don't have to, for those who are prepared to whip out the paper bags and put them over their heads, you might have to hold off on that for just a little bit. And we'll get into this a little bit later. It's not like the road gets any easier when you look at who's on the horizon for them. But they can say that they got off the snide, which I think was the most important thing for them at this point in the season.
I think that they were gradually working up toward this. They've had stretches in all 3 games. They should have won the opener against Philadelphia. They missed a couple of chip shots. They had their chances. They just didn't take advantage of them. They had a terrible fourth quarter. The Knicks game, just a terrible second quarter, but they outscored the Knicks in all the other 3 quarters. And I know that doesn't matter, but it just shows progress. And then the Detroit game, they just got bullied on the boards, offensive rebounds, couldn't stop Jalen Duren. Neither of their bigs showed up. So, they were showing signs, and they were kind of playing with their food against the Pelicans until the fourth quarter, and they ended the game on a 31-4 run. But some things that we're already seeing is that this team can play some defense. They're going to play hard. Mm-hmm. They're going to play harder than their opponents on most nights. They're going to work hard on that side of the ball. And they've got a lot of athletes and guys who can defend the ball and make it hard to score. New Orleans shot 33%. I think the Knicks shot under 40%. Detroit did not shoot a sparkling. I think Detroit was at 42% maybe. So this team is going to defend, and they're going to stay in a lot of games because they can stop you. The question is, can they score? And the question is, who's going to step up? So I think they're trying to fill some of those, voids now, answer some of those questions. But I thought it was a quality win. It was a back-to-back. A Detroit-New Orleans back-to-back is not easy. And Jaylen Brown, he didn't have to be the star. He only had 15 points in 24 minutes. He had foul trouble, and other guys stepped up. Luka Garza and Anthony Simons combined for 41 points. That's a big deal. That's what they need. So this team has not played nearly its best basketball, and they're 1-3. And Sherrod is right. Unfortunately, they do have a tough schedule coming up, so they're going to have to respond. Like, they can't rest in their laurels. The schedule doesn't get any easier.
So this question's twofold. One, what did you two find most impressive about the win? But then 2, given the record they have right now, what still needs to be worked on?
What you got, Gary?
Well, I think their defense, the guy who's impressing me is Josh Minott. That dude, first NBA start.
I'm not going to say
First of all, He's a plus 42, so they're winning with him on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to go plus 42 in an NBA game. I mean, that means you got to be. I mean, that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And just the first play of the game, tip. I think the ball went to Derek White. Long pass to Minott, dunk. Like we're here. We're making a statement. I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with their defense and how hard they're playing. The problems is, and they're very solvable to me. One, rebounding better. I think their technique, and they got to have a little bit of more 1-2. Two, they got to get more out of Derek White. He has had a really subpar first 4 games. Peyton Pritchard's beginning to get on track. And then Sam Hauser's got to start knocking down some shots too. If you're a Celtic fan, the encouraging thing is it's not like they're really playing well and they're losing. They're offensively, they're not playing all that well. Like I said, White is kind of he's playing like the White who did when he first got to Boston. Unsure of himself, lacking confidence, trying to will the ball to go in the hoop instead of knowing it's going to go in the hoop. Hauser's got to hit open shots, or it's no use for me, in my opinion, to play him if he's not going to hit open shots. Queta has been up and down. I thought Jalen Duren in the Detroit game took him to school. It was ugly. Queta should have ended up embarrassed. I mean, Duren is younger than he is. It's not like some veteran. It's not like Akeem putting you to, or David Robinson or Shaq. Jalen Duren, I think, is 23 years old now. He's a vet. He came into the league at 18, and he's a grown man. I mean, that dude, you do not want to see him in no dark alley. But that dude took Queta to school, and Queta's his pride's got to hurt, and he's got to say, okay, I got to be better. And he was better against New Orleans. Although they had a little stretch where DeAndre Jordan was getting in their butts, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this, 2015? DeAndre Jordan. But Queta had a good game. But to me, what I'm seeing is this team is going to be good defensively. They're going to play hard. They're going to have trouble rebounding, and they got to have guys hit shots to play with the elite teams. Now, they can beat the Charlottes or the Washingtons and the Brooklyns with their current product. But in order to play with the Philadelphias now, they're undefeated, the New Yorks, and we'll see tomorrow night against Cleveland, they have to have guys score. They can't go through stretches where they're going, 7 minutes without a field. They cannot happen. So to me, they got things to work on, but they're solvable.
Yeah, I mean the guy. I mean, Minott obviously had a great game, but to me the guy that I kind of liked what I saw to him was Gaza. Luka. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. This dude played limited minutes, and like that, he was in a concussion protocol. Didn't play major minutes, and he's a guy that, again, analytics folks love him because in a limited sample size, he puts up really good numbers that if you were to, per 36 minutes would be great, but he don't play long enough to play no damn 36 minutes. This was a game where you felt as though he got the absolute most out of the minutes he was on the floor. He was active around the glass, was able to score. I thought his defense wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was, when we seen him out there on the floor early. He moved his feet up there a little bit better than he normally does. And they're going to need someone to give them a little bit of juice from the middle that they're not getting from Queta. Queta, great shot blocking game. I thought he had a presence rebounding, but the more I watch Queta, the more I'm kind of embracing the fact that he's going to be a feast or famine scorer. He's either going to be able to get you buckets with ease and finish with like 12, 14, 16 points, or he's going to be a non-factor and get you maybe 1, maybe 2 buckets. Garza needs to be one of those guys that on those nights when Queta does not give you much offensively, he can fill that gap. He can fill that void that exists. And I thought he did a good job against the Pelicans. For him and like most of those young guys, it really is a matter of not so much what you can do, but can you do what you do well consistently. That's the big issue and concern with him going forward. But certainly, for the Celtics, this was a great game for him, great game for the team overall. And we'll see whether he and the Celtics can build off of this.
And Gary, going back to Minott, 15 points, 9 rebounds in that game, like you said, you were impressed. But do you think he's the answer to the power forward position for them?
At this point, yeah, you got to play that kid more minutes. You gotta put him in there. I mean, I think that right now he's active, he's fearless, he plays hard. This is exactly what Brad Stevens wanted. He wanted to bring in guys like Garza and Minott. People are like, well, why didn't he play? He didn't play in Minnesota because he's backing up Nas Reed, Rudy Gobert, McDaniels, all those bigs out there. He wasn't going to get run there. He needed a place to play. He needed a place to take advantage of his skill set. And his skill set is basically playing his butt off, being active at the rim, dunking on you, playing fearless, getting in your face, being that dude. And that's exactly what they have searched for this guy as Jalen Siddich for a while now. And maybe, it could mean the end of Jordan Walsh. Jordan has kind of just been put out to the non-playing, with Ron Harper and the crew, where he's going to get, garbage time minutes. We'll see if Joe maybe gives him a shot with some minutes in coming games. But Minott is definitely said, hey, I'm here to start, or I'm here to play 25, 30 minutes a game. To me, I think that's been one of the more pleasant surprises. Garza, like Sherrod said, got in a concussion protocol. He missed a game, but he missed the New York game, but he's come back, and he's going to give them some, and he hit 3 threes. If he can stretch the floor and hit those threes, then that's what he's added to his game over the years. Coming out of Iowa, he was obviously a big, rugged dude who was going to just cause all types of havoc in the paint. There's too many good athletes in the league for him to do that now. He's got to bring guys outside. He's got to be a threat from the perimeter, as does Minott. So to me, Minott's a guy who's going to have to play more minutes. Hugo Gonzalez, now, if I'm Joe, I play him. He had a good debut, starting debut. He played 18 minutes. He didn't score, but he played good defense against Cade Cunningham. He made him work. And I would have given him more momentum and given him a few minutes. He did not play. He was the only Celtic did not play against the Pelicans. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that doesn't, dampen his confidence. But to me, you got to play those guys. And this is as the guys have been saying, this is the time that they're going to have to learn. Like, as I said in last week's podcast, if they go start out 2-5 or 3-6, you cannot give up on this team, because this is the stuff they're trying to figure out right now, right? We're seeing who's going to be useful. Yeah. Simons is a guy who's going to get you buckets. Minott's a guy who's going to get your rebounds. Garza is a guy who's going to put in some good minutes and some lay some hat. The one thing about Garza is he's got to stay out of foul trouble. He had 4 fouls, I want to say, in 19 minutes. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. Same with Kada, right? And so to me, this is the figuring out time. But with that schedule, they're going to pay for figuring things out right away. So I think Minott, you got to let him loose. And if it's starting him and putting Hauser to the bench for whatever you need to do, you got to let this kid flourish.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe has made up in his mind from the very beginning that we're going to spend the first couple of weeks of the season just really rotating guys in and out of that rotation. That's the only reason why you look at a guy like Minott, for example, I thought played well in his first game, doesn't play the next one. Then when you look at a guy like Hugo, who played well when he got a chance to play, and then he doesn't play.
And like Gary mentioned, these players need routine. So when you mess up that routine, then it messes most likely with their psyche.
Yeah, but the problem that they have is that in the past, when you had guys who weren't playing, you weren't playing because the guys ahead of you were superior to you. Luke Cornett saw little burn because this guy named Al Horford, this guy named Kristaps Porzingis, they're better than you. But the challenge then becomes you are now part of what they like to dub the Stay Ready crew. But the problem with this team now is that you got guys who are just as good and in some instances playing better than the guys that are playing when they're not. And so now all of a sudden you got to ask yourself, why exactly am I not playing when I know I contribute more than that guy does? And for guys like Jordan Walsh and for guys like Baylor, they want to get to the point where they can be seen of as like part of like the stay ready crew, because right now they look more like the passport ready crew, because they may be having to check. They may have to take their game overseas in a minute if they don't start showing some ability to be more than just that 11th and 12th man on the roster. Because to your point, Gary, that you brought up earlier, I mean, Minott ain't playing. He's taking somebody lunch, somebody job, somebody rotation spot, and he is not going to be looking back. Ugo, same thing. And so when you look at what those guys are bringing to the table, in their first opportunity to be a Celtic, and you look at what guys who this is their second or third trip around this organization are doing, or I should say not doing, if you're Brad Stevens, you really do like, and I brought this up before. I mean, you got to look at this roster if you're a player as if, this is like the basketball version of Hunger Games. We are not all going to make it to the finish line. We are not all going to be among the last standing. And what are you going to do to survive and eventually thrive here in Boston? And I think you got a lot of guys who this is their first go around who are making a strong case for wanting to be part of this group when they get Jason Tatum back next year or at the end of this season. And a lot of guys you looking kind of side-eyed at, be like, Dag, you've been here like 2-3 years and you only doing that? Yeah. These are some of the things that if you're Joe Mazzulla, if you're Brad Stevens, you are taking this into consideration as you evaluate where's this organization going to go in both the short and long term.
Very well said. And I think for the fans, I imagine frustrating seeing them not succeed the way that you want them to. But I think this season, like we've said in the off season, it's going to be a test of patience and seeing how Joe Mazzulla can help this team grow. But before we move on, just a reminder, as you know, this Big 3 NBA podcast is part of the CLNS Media Network, where you'll find our podcast, past, present, as well as a lot of other great Celtics content as we continue to follow this journey. Sherrod.
Yes. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win cash. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on, for me, my favorite player, Jalen Hurts, for his passing yards, his rushing yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create on the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Again, it is the place to really get in. And how do you do it? It's real simple. You download the app today, use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today, use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
Okay, so looking ahead at the schedule, we have Cleveland, Philly, Houston on the horizon for the Celtics. What are your expectations for those games?
Oh, if they can get one, call it a good week. If they can get one of them, because I mean, Houston is just the way they're built. That's going to be a problem. Philly is a game I thought is a winnable team, because I do think that of the 3 teams, Philly is maybe the most winnable of those 3 games. Cleveland is going to be a major problem all season long, because the very strengths of that Cleveland team, which I believe is their ability in the front court, is the areas of greatest concern for the Celtics. I think about like our guy, Minott, who is, again, good player, but who exactly are you going to be dealing with, Jared Allen or Mobley? Because they're both going to give you problems, whether you are Minott or whether no matter who you are, frankly. And as we all know, Donovan Mitchell will be saving his best for the Celtics. If when Donovan Mitchell retires and they're putting together the Donovan Mitchell highlight film, I've got a funny feeling we're gonna see a lot of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum getting some of that action. I got that feeling. So Cleveland is a team that, again, I just think is a problem. And so for the Celtics, if they can get one of these 3 wins, you're not going to be ready to, get the duck boats out or nothing like that, but you'll feel as though you are making progress. Because at this point, and then we've talked about this, and we'll be talking about this all season long. It's about progress with these guys. Are they making the steps needed to not just win games, which is a goal, but are they able to compete? And if you're able to compete and rack up a few W's along the way, that's what you want. But I look at the way those 3 teams are structured, and I feel as though Philly is probably their best shot at getting a victory of those 3.
I mean, I think they can win 2 of those games if they play really, really well. Houston's a team that has kind of not, they lost at home to Detroit. They lost at Oklahoma. Houston's not off to a great start. They don't have a point guard right now. They're figuring some things out in Houston. Now, the Rock, obviously, Rock has got talent. They got the other Thompson brother. They've got, Jabari Smith. They got, now the great Kevin Durant. They got Shingle. They got dudes, no question. And the coach, right? But I think the Celtics can. I still don't trust Houston. Okay, I don't trust Houston yet. They got to figure some things out. Philadelphia, like you said, Sherrod, it will be on the road. The Sixers are playing well. They're undefeated. This Edgecombe Maxey thing is going to be a problem. Like, they combined for 69 points last night in their win against Orlando. Maxey had 43 and Edgecombe had 26. Edgecombe, if you was a smart man, and we can talk about the gambling thing, gambling stuff, because I know Sherrod has some thoughts about that because it hit home with him. But
every level,
all
3 of them.
Yeah,
that's true.
Allegedly
accused.
But if you'd been a smart man, if you'd have hit Edgecombe for Rookie of the Year, let's say last Tuesday before the season started, because his odds for Rookie of the Year, I think he's even now with Cooper Flagg, because Cooper Flagg had 2 points last night and Edgecombe had 26. So the Sixers are a problem, okay, with those guys. And so to me, in Cleveland, it's hard to say. Cleveland's a team. They're 3-1. They lost the opener to the Knicks. They look like they're just going to come in there and make some problems for the Celtics. I think the Philly and Houston games are the most attainable. And you may be catching Philly off guard. As I said, Houston's 1-2. I'm not impressed so far. They got some things to figure out. So to me, all 3 games they could steal a win. If they could win 2, I think it would be a disappointment if they went 0-3. At this point, you got to just try to hold your own against the elite. And then after that, Utah and Washington come in, and those are 2 winnable games before you go back on the road and you go to Orlando for 2. So the schedule's not easy, but I think the one thing that I can say about the Celtics is a very positive point here. They're going to probably play harder than most of their opponents. Like, this isn't the days where they can glide to victories with Tatum going for a 20-point quarter, or Porzingis or Horford making plays, or even Jrue Holiday. The young kids are going to play hard. So, and Jalen is leading that, and Jalen's going to play hard. So they know they have to play harder than their opponents, and that's going to get you some victories. Just outplaying your opponents, playing hard, chasing loose balls. So you got to give them a shot in all 3 games. I think they can get 2 of those games, Philly and Houston. But Philly, unfortunately, again, I agree with Sherrod. Philly's probably the most winnable game. But then again, I do not trust the Houston Rockets yet. I am not impressed.
See, here's the thing, Gary. You brought up a point about playing hard, and I want to believe that this team is going to be the harder playing team whenever they step out on the floor, but I don't trust them just yet to do that. Sure, and part of that distrust comes from the fact that they don't really have a set rotation to do that. Like, for example, if you were to tell me right now, Gary, that they're going to play Minott every game, they're going to play Ugo every game, then yeah, I will absolutely co-sign on that hard playing style that we're talking about. But knowing that there's a potential that Joe might still be tinkering with playing one of those guys or neither one of those guys on any given night, that automatically, in my mind, takes away from your ability to play hard as long as you need to, because that's literally the only thing those two guys have done every single time they play. They haven't always shot the ball well. They haven't always defended well, but it was never an issue of effort. And the effort that they did display was at a high level. I mean, think about Ugo. You're in, you come into the league, and who you guarding off the bat? Jalen freaking Brunson. And then you go from there. You're playing a Detroit team, and again, another challenging matchup. There have been challenging matches for Minott as well. And to me, I love the fact that those guys don't back down from those challenges. They don't seem as if they're guarding an all-star. They're just like, I'm guarding a dude who's really good, and I'm gonna give him what I got because I think I'm pretty good. And if I were confident that Joe was going to continue to lean on those guys and try to give them more responsibility and give them more opportunities going forward, then absolutely, Gary, I am down with them being the harder playing team night in, night out. But as long as Joe Mazzulla continues to play, musical chairs with his rotation, and those guys may be in one night, they may not be in, I'm not going to buy this team as being a harder playing team, because I know some of the guys that he's going to be putting in there while those guys sit are not going to play as hard as they do. And to me, I guess that's kind of where I'm at now. Even though we're only a week or so into the season, we've seen enough in the preseason and the regular season to feel that there's a certain amount of guys whose effort is always going to be at a high level. And there's a certain number of guys whose effort is going to be questionable. Some nights they're going to play really hard and it's going to be obvious. Other nights they're going to be kind of out there like bro man chilling. Just they out there, they do a couple of nice things, but for the most part, they kind of chilling out there. That ain't going to get it done. You can do that when you playing around with Drew Holiday. You can do that when you're playing with Kristaps Porzingis. You can do that when Jaylen Brown and Tatum out there. You got them four out there. You can kind of chill a little bit, because even when you play hard, they're going to make you look like you're chilling because they're so much better than you. But when you got guys who are talent-wise on a similar level to you, but they just play a little bit harder than you, that stands out for all the reasons that you don't want. It to me, it's kind of like when the lights come on, you can't hide. There ain't nowhere to run. Who you are is what they see. And I need Jordan Walsh. I need Baylor. I need them to play better when they get opportunities to play. And that doesn't mean you got to score a rebound. You just got to play harder. You got to make it clear as day that you are out there busting your ass. And I know they have that in them, but I don't know if they have it in them to the level that a Minott and Ugo have, because that's literally all those two cats have done. And so I want to believe they're going to be the harder playing team, G. But, man, look, if you play Ugo and Minott, then yeah. If you're not playing them, I got to give you the side eye on that one.
Yeah, I understand. Well, there's still a lot to be seen. I feel like we're going to say that every week for a while now. But before we go.
At least they got to win, Kwani. At least they got to win.
That's true. At least they got to win. That is the most important part. But before we get out of here, I want to remind those that are listening to the show that you subscribe at this point. It's still early in the season. You want to be in touch with us, hear what we have to say. Leave a review if you have the time. And also for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button, and also make sure you're subscribed to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel so that you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content all season long. And one more thing, make sure you turn on those notifications so that you know the instant a new episode like this one drops. That's all for this week's episode in the Big 3 NBA podcast. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. Thank you for watching.
And one more thing before we get out of here, Kwani. One more thing. Yeah. And this is a shout out to you, Kwani, and the work you're doing on the Patriots pre and post. They kind of rolling a a little bit.
They're looking good.
And this is the first year that you've been down with the crew. So I'm
not
just
saying it's me, but you're the second person to tell me that today.
I'm just saying,
you're the second person to say that.
I mean, they look kind of ashy a year ago. Now they look kind of classy. I'm just saying. So
and who's moisturized? Me.
I'm kidding. Gary don't know about that. Gary don't know about that. See, because like right where I'm at now, you know what I got? Bam.
Lotion.
Whiffing.
No, seriously, watch Patriots pregame on Patriots.com or their YouTube channel, and postgame 2 hours after the game. You can call in, you can email. It's a fun time.
And if you mention the podcast, we will absolutely get a shout out.
Yeah, we'll shout you out right here.
Because that's what we do.
That's
what we do. Is that cool with you, Gary?
Yeah, whatever you say, Sherrod.
There we go. All right, now thank you guys for watching for real. Have a great week.
We out.